Have you any dreams for the future? What you'd like to be? Oh, pilot. Yeah.
Lawyer.
Lawyer. Nurse. Teacher.
I remember from the moment I was brought to life. Too much tender, too much love made me who I am. I remember you gave me shelter, food for my life. And now I thank you for your time from deep down my heart. Ulinitoa mbali, sina wa kushukuru, ila ni wewe, ila ni wewe. Ulinitoa mbali, sina wa kushukuru, ila ni wewe, ila ni wewe. Every second is a dream, every moment is a song.
It was only in the mid-80s that the first case of HIV was identified in Kenya. So when our founder, Father D'Agostino, felt called to reach out to these children who had inherited HIV, it was very, very new. In fact, when we went to one funding agency, they said, these children are going to die anyway. Get into prevention. We couldn't do that. The home was the first program to start. An outreach to children who were abandoned, some totally abandoned, like being left on the side of the street, being left behind in hospital. We have no information about their origins. Then children who were abandoned because of fear, ignorance, and discrimination by extended family when their parents passed away. And some Good Samaritan heard that there were these children, and the child finally came to us.
In 1992, when the homos began, we started losing quite a number of children because of HIV and AIDS. They would come into Nyumbani when they are already terminally ill, and Nyumbani will just really support them in their final stage through the hospice care. We have a cemetery where these children would be buried so that they're not lost, they're not gone, and became part of like a family that when a child died in the 90s, would have a ceremony, a burial ceremony. We will do a service and we'll bury that child with dignity within this graveyard. And it has remained a very nice, solemn place where we all come and say a prayer every year in November when we are praying for all the souls. We come here and pray. This is George, this is Caroline. So this is Caroline's grave. And Caroline had her brother, George. So George died earlier.
It was devastating for all of us, whether you understood what was going on or not. You lose hope in a way that, okay, somebody comes to you expecting you to offer something. And then you say, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to offer. You look at this person who came to you expecting something good and you are not able to offer. I've been here since 1995. So I've seen the effect when we didn't have the drugs up to about 1999 when we started giving some of the children here medication. Before that time, we used to lose a lot of children. In fact, we were almost having about one death a month, which of course I think was very traumatic to the children who were here at that time. But when we started giving the medication and we stopped them dying, now we've seen many of them actually grow up and actually leave the home because now they are adults and looking after themselves. And of course, we are seeing that they are quite healthy. Now, when I used to come here every day, you would find a long line of children to be seen. Now there's only 1 or 2 children to be seen because they are quite healthy.
I'll tell you first of all an incident that happened, which brought me in contact with what Father D'Agostino was thinking of. Every morning he came into the office, he read the newspaper. So this morning he got up and he came to my desk. I was busy, but he said, read that. And that was the story of how police had shot dead 17 youngsters who were scavenging for food in Kinshasa. And he said, that's what's going to happen here if we do nothing about it. And so gradually the village was born. The way we envisaged the operation of the village was that what we would ask of the grandparents is that they're there for the children, not just for their own biological grandchildren, but also for the grandchildren of other families. They care for them, bond with them, love them, pass on the values of life and the tradition. We provide what is necessary for the household. But we also challenge them to grow some vegetables and fruits, because each family has about half an acre around their house. That was in the vision from the beginning, sustainability. And we saw it happening in 3 different ways. First of all, we needed a farm to grow food for the families. But because we had 1,000 acres of land, we saw that we could have a bigger farm and be able to sell off the extra produce and so generate some income. The second way of earning income was through production at the Polytechnic. And that is ongoing, but it needs to expand much more. And then, of course, since it was a village, we did have to have the social services that the children and the grandparents needed. So it meant that we had to have a primary school, and later we realized we better have a secondary school, a high school as well. But you possibly have seen at the village, the children are very invested in education. The primary school, education, our hope, our future. And that's a fact, because when they were at home, while their parents were very sick and passing away, their education was very much interrupted. Some of them wouldn't have gone to school even. So now that when they come into the village and there's school, and there's no worry about fees, no worry about uniform or stationery, I just have to go to school and learn. So our hope, our future.
akampanda mbuzi.
Inando na tevya, ete omwe omonde, ete ele ole, ete atano, okwake Yesu. Nimemwambie mutangiko ya kaibale, ende ngai niwona nishefinya na utoni, ete omwe omonde. Ene, kainawo, kauka wadi kainawo. Kauna wake.
Throughout the entire village, we have done rainwater harvesting. And as you can see, this is a good example. In every house, we've installed a tank whereby we harvest rainwater all the way through the gutters into the tanks. And during the rain season, these tanks are normally full. And actually the water the tanks are very well placed and to have taps all over. So when they're full, we are able to use this water actually for drinking and also cooking. So the families can access fresh rainwater from the tanks, which lasts them for quite some time. And it is also now backed up by the other line of fresh water from Masinga. So we've done this in the entire village.
Right from the beginning, we knew that we would not just have children in residence in Nyumbani home, that we would reach out to children who were living with some family, the children living with HIV, in the informal communities surrounding the city of Nairobi, because we knew that they were not being reached. They're living in a shack, really. And you could have, in a 4 by 3 meters house, you could have a family, a full family. They could reach 6, 8, even 10. No running water, no sewers. Food, not 100% certain. Going to school, well, now with primary education being free, they can go to school. But in order to go to school, they have to have a uniform and have some money to buy exercise books and biros, etc. Infection can be rampant.
It's tough, especially in school. It's tough. Like example, in primary, it's not going to be that hard because you are there half of the day. But once you join high school, when you go to boarding school, you stay there in the school for 3 months. So you like your friends will follow you every single time of the day. So during your time of taking your medicine, they'll ask you, what are these medicines for? And you have been taking them for the past 6 months or the past 3 years we have been together. And you're not sick, what's wrong? So they just go around stigmatizing and starting discriminating. It's not going to go directly like they'll tell you, you now go start staying there. They'll start like, I used this utensil, like my friend used it before he knew that I was HIV positive. But once you start using that same utensil and give it to him, he'll tell you, no, 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 I'll use another one.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes you feel awful.
Why?
You wanted to share something. You can't share anything right now. I think it's sadness or depression. You're not a different person, but people take you as a different person, as an outcast. That's actually what they do.
Vingi zilikuwa mingi
Kama
ngoja mox ni ngumu, yetu ilikuwa rahisi.
That ndo naambia mwalimu teacher.
Unasema mox ni rahisi.
Sasa nimejua ni kwa nini mlikata.
You know, as we grow up through the various stages of human development, we come to the generative stage. Though we are working towards it in young adulthood, the desire to give life to others. And in our case, because we're reaching out to children who are living with HIV or affected by it, we're giving life to them through caring for their needs. So, you know, when I think of where they have come from, and then I see them here like any other normal child, and in the village also, that they're secure, they're happy, they believe they can dream their dreams and realize them. They know they can have a family. They have to prepare for it, but it's possible. So that's very new. In the early days, you know, we were burying 2 to 3 children. You saw our graveyard down there. Now, we are looking towards a new generation of children from this generation of persons who are living with HIV, but the next generation will be HIV-free. So that's tremendous when you think about it in that way.